I worked 3 jobs to send my daughter to Harvard, then she sued me. I remember the smell of bleach and coffee more vividly than any perfume I've ever owned. That's how my life smelled for 20 years. A mixture of cleaning products and caffeine, soaked into my skin, into my clothes, into my bones. I worked 3 jobs, morning shifts at a diner, nights scrubbing offices, and weekends at the hospital laundry. I barely slept, barely breathed, but I told myself it was worth it, because every dollar I earned, every hour I lost was a brick in the road I was building for my daughter. Her name is Emma, and she was my reason to live. When she was little, Emma used to draw pictures of us. Stick figures holding hands, her curly hair sticking up like fireworks. She'd press those drawings into my apron before I left for work. "Someday," she'd say, "you won't have to work anymore, Mom. I'll buy you a house with a garden." I'd laugh. "Just promise me you'll stay kind when you get there." And she would, or so I thought. Emma was brilliant, always had been. Straight A's, science fairs, debate club, the kind of child teachers used as an example to other parents. I was proud, but I was also terrified. Terrified that my lack of money, my lack of connections would clip her wings. So I clipped my own instead. When she got accepted to Harvard, I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. She called me from the kitchen, voice trembling. "Mom, I got in." I dropped the dish I was washing. It shattered, but I didn't care. We danced right there, in that tiny apartment with the peeling wallpaper and the leaky faucet. It didn't matter that the tuition was more than I made in 2 years combined. I told her, "We'll find a way, I promise." And I meant it, every word. The way turned out to be brutal. I picked up a 3rd job, cleaning night shifts in a hotel 20 miles away. My hands cracked from the bleach. My feet swelled until my shoes bled at the edges. But I kept going. I sold my wedding ring, sold the car, sold the old piano her father had left before he disappeared. Every tuition bill that arrived, I traced the numbers with my finger like I was reading scripture. Each payment was pain turned into purpose. At first, Emma called every day. "Mom, I love it here. The buildings look like castles." "Mom, my roommate's from London. She talks like a movie star." "Mom, I joined the pre-law society." Her voice made every 5 a.m. shift feel bearable. But as the semesters went by, the calls got shorter. Then they stopped. I told myself she was busy, that she was becoming the woman I always wanted her to be. Independent, focused, successful. Until one evening when I saw her face on social media. A friend from the diner showed me on her phone. There was Emma. Radiant, confident, smiling beside a caption. "So grateful for my parents who always supported me." Parents, plural. And beside her stood a man and a woman I didn't recognize. The caption tagged them, "My family." First, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe they were professors, mentors, anyone else. But then I looked closer. The woman had her arm around Emma's shoulders like she'd raised her. The man wore a Harvard alumni jacket. And Emma called them Mom and Dad in the comments. Something in me cracked that night, not like glass but like stone under pressure. Quiet, invisible, irreversible. I sent her a message. "Emma, can we talk? I saw your post. I miss you." She read it, didn't reply. Days passed, then weeks. I didn't hear her voice again until the day I got a letter. Not handwritten, typed, formal, from a law firm in Cambridge, Massachusetts. At first, I thought maybe it was something about her tuition, but when I opened it, the words blurred on the page. "Petition to terminate parental rights." I read it again, and again. It was signed, Plaintiff Emma Daniels, my own daughter. I couldn't breathe. I thought it had to be a mistake, some kind of bureaucratic nightmare. But the petition was clear. It stated that I had caused emotional distress, was unfit for continued parental involvement, and had interfered with her well-being. I sank onto the floor, the letter shaking in my hands. The woman who once drew me pictures with hearts and suns was now suing me to erase me from her life. I tried to call her, once, twice, 10 times. Every time the call went straight to voicemail. So I did what any desperate mother would do. I took a bus to Cambridge. The 12-hour ride felt longer than all the years I'd spent working. I held that letter the whole way, smoothing the creases, whispering her name like it might undo what she'd done. When I reached Harvard's campus, it was snowing light, slow flakes drifting over the red brick buildings. Students hurried past in coats that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I found her dorm easily. I'd memorized the address from her first acceptance letter. The brass plate still had her name. I knocked. She opened the door. For a second, she looked like my little girl again. Same brown eyes, same nervous way of tucking hair behind her ear. Then her expression hardened. Mom, what are you doing here? I got your letter. My voice trembled. I didn't understand. I came to talk. She glanced behind her, as if afraid someone might see. You shouldn't be here. Emma, please. I just need to know why. Why are you doing this? She sighed, crossing her arms. Because you're toxic, Mom. The word cut deeper than the letter ever could. I gave you everything, I whispered. You gave me guilt, she shot back. You made me feel like I owed you my life. Every time I called, it was about how tired you were, how much you were sacrificing. Do you have any idea what that does to a person? I was proud of you. That's all I ever said. No, you made me your purpose, and I can't live under that anymore. Behind her, I saw a framed photo on her desk, the same couple from the post. The woman was hugging Emma, both of them smiling. Emma followed my gaze. That's Meredith and Charles. They've been like real parents to me. Real parents. I felt my knees weaken. Did they put you up to this? No. They helped me see that I don't have to keep being your daughter just because you gave birth to me. I wanted to scream, to tell her about the nights I'd worked until my fingers bled, about the meals I skipped so she could have books, about how I'd once pawned my coat to buy her winter boots. But I saw it, the wall in her eyes. Anything I said would just make me smaller. So I left. 3 weeks later, a court date arrived. The state allowed her petition to proceed because she was over 18 and had filed on grounds of emotional coercion. The story spread fast. Mother exploited daughter for tuition. Some blog headline read, reporters called. The diner fired me after customers complained. Strangers sent hate mail. One letter said, you should be ashamed. Let her live her life. But the shame wasn't new. It had been living in my chest for years. I just learned to work through it. My public defender, Mr. Harris, was kind but tired. She's technically an adult, he explained. The lawsuit can't erase you from her childhood, but it can strip legal standing, next of kin, inheritance, medical decisions. In other words, I said softly, she's trying to make sure she never has to call me again. He looked away. I'm sorry. Then one morning I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice said, Mrs. Daniels, this is Meredith Collins, the real mom. I think we should talk. We met at a cafe near campus. She wore pearls, perfect hair, perfect posture. Everything about her screamed control. I wanted to meet you face to face, she said. Emma's been struggling. I laughed bitterly. She's suing me. She's confused, Meredith said calmly. When she came to college, she was lost. She didn't fit in with the other students. My husband and I, we helped her. She needed structure guidance. We provided it. By replacing me, she doesn't see it that way. Meredith leaned forward. She believes you use guilt as manipulation. We just helped her see that she deserves autonomy. I clenched my hands under the table. Autonomy isn't something you buy, Mrs. Collins. Her smile didn't waver. No, but therapy is. Lawyers are. And Emma needed both. There it was, the subtext behind her polished tone: money, influence, power. You paid for this, I whispered. Meredith's silence was answer enough. When I left that cafe, I wasn't broken anymore. I was angry, not wild anger. The cold kind that moves carefully like a blade. If they wanted a legal fight, I would give them one. That night, I opened an old metal box under my bed, where I kept every receipt, every letter from Harvard's bursar, every proof of payment I'd made in my name. I organized them by year, cross-referenced them with Emma's scholarship records, and then I found it, a donation form from the Collins Foundation, dated 6 months before Emma's lawsuit, $250,000, for student support in psychological mentorship program. Emma's name was listed as recipient. I sat in my tiny apartment, papers scattered across the floor, the glow from my desk lamp painting long, lonely shadows. My hands trembled over that donation form. $250,000. That was more than tuition, more than generosity. That was control. I scrolled through my old emails. Dozens of exchanges with the university's financial office. All polite, all cold. None had ever mentioned a foundation covering mentorship. None had ever told me my daughter was now someone else's project. Then I found the date, 6 months before the lawsuit. 6 months before Emma turned 21. 6 months before she stopped calling. That was when they bought her. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I replayed every memory, every conversation. trying to pinpoint when she started slipping away. Was it the first time she came home for Thanksgiving and seemed embarrassed by our apartment? When she said she didn't need me to visit anymore? When she started signing her emails E. Collins instead of Emma Daniels? It wasn't just influence, it was erasure. The next morning, I took the donation form and the tuition receipts to my lawyer. He stared at them for a long time. This could change everything, he said finally. They made her dependent on them. This isn't about emotional distress. It's coercion. He looked up. You realize what this means, don't you? I nodded. They bought my daughter, and now I have to buy her back, with truth. The hearing was set for March. By then, the story had become viral gossip. Working class mom clings to control of Ivy League daughter. Every headline had a tone: pity, judgment, or mockery. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed like lightning. Reporters shouted, "Mrs. Daniels, do you regret forcing your daughter into your dream? Is it true you misused tuition money?" I kept walking. My lawyer's hand on my shoulder kept me steady, but inside I was crumbling. When I entered the courtroom, Emma was already there, sitting beside the Collinses. Meredith looked poised, almost regal. Charles whispered something to Emma, and she smiled faintly. My heart twisted. She used to smile like that at me. The judge entered. Everyone stood. I stared at the back of Emma's head and tried not to cry. When it was my turn to speak, I stood shakily. I never wanted to control my daughter, I said. I only wanted her to have a life better than mine. I worked 3 jobs to give her that chance. I may have been tired, I may have complained, but I never asked for gratitude, only love. Meredith's attorney objected. Irrelevant sentiment. But the judge let me continue. I have documents, I said, holding up the donation record. The Collins Foundation donated $250,000 to Harvard's mentorship program, with Emma's name attached, right before she filed this lawsuit. This wasn't independence. This was persuasion. A ripple spread through the courtroom. The Collinses shifted uncomfortably. The judge's eyes narrowed. Is that true, Mr. Collins? Charles adjusted his tie. We simply supported a program to help bright young students. With conditions? I asked, like convincing her that her real mother was toxic. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, Emma approached me for the first time in months. Why are you doing this, Mom? She whispered. Because you're being used, Emma. Her eyes flashed with something: anger, fear, confusion. No one's using me. They're helping me. By teaching you to hate me? She looked away. You made me feel small. They made me feel seen. Sweetheart, I said, voice breaking. They don't see you. They see a story, the brilliant poor girl they can save. But they're not saving you. They're rewriting you. She hesitated just for a heartbeat. Then she walked away. That night, I stayed in a motel outside Cambridge. The heater rattled, the wallpaper peeled, and I sat awake listening to the hum of traffic outside. I thought of the first time I held her, her tiny fists clutching my finger, her cry soft and furious all at once. I thought of the time she fell asleep on my chest, whispering, "Don't leave, Mommy." How easily love can be rewritten when power holds the pen. The next morning, my lawyer called. We got access to the university's mentorship documents, he said. You were right. He sent me scanned pages, emails between the Collins Foundation and the Dean's office. Emma Daniels' situation presents an excellent opportunity for a philanthropic case study. Ensure the narrative aligns with the Foundation's vision of educational transformation. I scrolled, heart pounding. Another email from Meredith. She's emotionally detached from her biological mother. Continued separation will support her stability and the Foundation's image. There it was, cold, calculated, signed. They hadn't just bought her education, they'd purchased her story. I printed everything, and I made copies, dozens of them. I sent one to the judge, one to the press, one to the university's ethics board. By the time the next hearing came, the Collinses weren't smiling anymore. Meredith spoke first. Her voice trembled, not from nerves but anger. You don't understand what she's like, she said. Emma told us how you smothered her, how you called her every night, crying. You made her feel responsible for your life. I wanted to scream that I was just lonely, just scared, that every call was me trying to stay connected to the person I built my life around. But instead, I said quietly, I called because I loved her, because she was all I had. Meredith glared. You call that love? Guilt, obligation, tears? That's not love. The judge interrupted. That's enough. He turned to me. Mrs. Daniels, do you have anything else to add? Yes, I said, pulling a printed email from my folder. I have this. He read it silently, then looked up. Mrs. Collins, "Can you confirm this is your email?" Meredith's lips parted, but no sound came. The courtroom was silent. Finally, she said, "Yes, the ruling didn't come that day, but the damage had been done." The press shifted. Headlines changed tone. Mother exploited. Daughter manipulated by wealthy donors. Foundation faces ethics probe after Harvard mentorship scandal. Emma stopped responding to the Collinses. Her calls went unanswered. Then one evening, as I was closing my diner shift, my phone rang. It was her. "Mom," she said softly, "can we talk?" We met at the same cafe where I'd faced Meredith months before. Emma looked different, smaller somehow, like the light around her had dimmed. "I read everything," she said. "The emails, the donations." I didn't want to believe it, but her voice cracked. "They made me think you were the problem." I reached across the table, but she flinched, not in fear but shame. "I let them," she whispered. "They offered me comfort and I took it. I was tired of feeling guilty. I didn't realize they were using me." I shook my head. "You're not to blame, honey. You just wanted to be loved. That's all any of us want." She wiped her tears. "The lawsuit, I'll withdraw it. I don't care about that," I said. "I just want my daughter back." For the first time in years, she smiled like she used to, raw and real. But redemption isn't instant. Took months. Therapy, silence, slow forgiveness. Emma moved out of the Collinses' apartment. She cut contact, transferred to another university. We started small text calls, weekend visits, each one fragile as glass. Then one spring morning, she came to my apartment with a box. Inside were all the drawings she'd made as a child. Stick figures, crooked hearts. The word written in bright crayon letters. "I found them in their attic," she said. "They kept them. I don't know why." "Because they wanted your story," I said quietly, "but it was never theirs to keep." The final hearing wasn't about rights anymore. It was about closure. The judge reviewed the withdrawal, the foundation's investigation, and finally turned to us. "Ms. Daniels," he said to Emma, "do you wish to continue this case?" She stood, voice steady. "No, Your Honor. I wish to end it, and to apologize to my mother." There was a murmur in the courtroom. She turned toward me. "I wanted freedom so badly that I didn't see the chains they were putting on me instead. You gave me everything, and I tried to erase you." I couldn't speak. My throat was tight with tears. The judge nodded. "Case dismissed." And just like that, the weight of 2 years lifted off my chest. We left the courthouse hand in hand. Outside, the press swarmed, but I didn't care. For once, the cameras didn't matter. The sky was pale blue, the air sharp with spring. Emma stopped on the steps and said, "I want to study law, real law, to help people who can't fight back." I smiled through tears. Then I guess my sleepless nights paid off. She laughed softly. "They always did, Mom." That night, I came home to my quiet apartment. I made coffee the same way I used to during those endless nights. The smell filled the room, bitter, familiar, alive. On the table lay one of Emma's old drawings, 2 stick figures, holding hands under a yellow sun. I framed it, and as I looked at it, I realized something. Love isn't erased by betrayal. It's tested by it. Sometimes the people we raise lose themselves in the world we fought to give them. But if you wait long enough and keep the light on, they find their way home.